President Trump will hold a rally in Michigan later today, marking 100 days of his second term. Since taking office, Trump has signed a flurry of executive orders as he's vowed to slash the federal government, ramp up his immigration crackdown, and enact aggressive tariff policies. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Arif Halaby. Of course, you can check him out on Radio AM 870, but he joins us right here on the live zone. Always good to see you, sir. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, let's jump right into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I should yet again let our viewers know that the White House is expected to hold a new media briefing.
Yes.
We just got word of that. That should happen momentarily. If and when it does happen, we'll take you there live right here on the live zone. In the meantime, 100 days. Can you believe it? 100 days since his second term. Trump is going to hold a rally today in Michigan, and he'll make reference of reshaping the federal government, but mainly focus on what he has done on the immigration crackdown. What do you think exactly we will see roll out today, sir?
I think you'll see across the board. Michigan Governor Whitmer has really a couple of big problems to deal with. Number one is President Trump won her state by a margin that was unexpected. And that's pretty important to understand because she's obviously a Democrat, and that's a big change to his world to win a Democrat state that handily. Secondarily, it's a heavily union state. You're going to see auto workers push, as they have for years, not as much power recently, but they want manufacturing to return. They are in favor of tariffs, believe it or not, at least on a level to allow them to compete fairly in Japan and in Europe. You understand, there aren't a lot of cars exported from the United States to Europe. You'll see BMWs and Mercedes and Saab, we used to be here. You would see those Volvo cars everywhere. You still do. Rarely do you see American cars throughout Europe. Auto workers are going to appreciate that. I think you'll see that change.
Yeah, it appears the two will yet again try to play nice as they meet prior, to my understanding, to the rally yet again set to take place later this afternoon. Hey, let's talk about polls, shall we? We know that happens to be really big with the president. According to a recent CNN poll, the American public is really frustrated at the state of the economy and politics, really. A growing majority says Trump has made the economy worse, and the president's approval rating as 100 days is historically low. What do you think about that? Is the president going to, in essence, do an about-face and try to change things?
Yeah, I think the president has an understanding this is a long game. He has to come in with a shock and awe strategy. It's interesting. A lot of people have read his book. A lot of people thought they have studied him. There hasn't been a more investigated person on this planet, probably much more than Al Capone and John Gotti. But you're going to see that Mr. Trump has created an impression to the world of a bit of chaos. But behind the scenes, that's not really the case. We have been ripped off by Canada. We have been ripped off by other countries that were supposedly our friends. Mexico could have shut down the border. We saw it happen in just weeks when the previous administration and Republican administrations in the past weren't able to get it done. President Trump did. It's because he's a bit unpredictable. Very important. He's not beholden to anybody. He's still a president. And how many times have we reported it on this network or others that he has donated 100% minus $1 per year of his salary to the Negro College Fund. He's donated money to various colleges and universities. He's donated money to HBCUs. You don't see that. Why not? Because he's known as a chaos type person, but behind the scenes, he's incredibly intelligent and he understands what he's doing. Here's what I think you're going to see. The tariffs across the board have seen many changes in the attitudes from Canada, Japan, Vietnam. China has a big concern. They do not want their next door neighbors making deals with the United States. In fact, it's much less expensive to build products in Vietnam, Bangladesh, much less expensive to build products in some of those Cambodia type Thailand countries and bring them here. And that is going to bother China. You're going to see some political behind the scenes movement, and that's going to affect those countries' stability. President Trump is brilliant. He knows how to keep the other side on their back foot, whether it's Democrats or whether it's China or whether it's Russia. He knows how to do that.
Likely one of the key points he'll touch on yet again today at that Michigan rally. Let's flip to the other side of the aisle, if you will. In this case, I'm making reference to Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer. Yeah, we're talking about polls and ratings. Apparently, well, his have dipped as well to new lows in the latest polling conducted by SSRS. With dissatisfaction really coming largely from within his own party after he faced criticism for his handling of the GOP-backed spending bill earlier this year. Looks like there's trouble in paradise for the Democrats.
Well, everybody knows that had President Trump pushed his agenda across the board and it was in fact rejected by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate, there would have been a shutdown. That shutdown would have led to Elon Musk opening up a much larger part of the federal government, open it to audits, and start understanding where there's waste and fraud. Chuck Schumer is behind, well, in some polls, as much as 20% from Congresswoman Cortez, AOC. AOC is interesting. If she wins the primary, and she's now eligible to run, so if she wins the primary, she'll never win the general, not in New York. I think even New Yorkers, especially upstate New Yorkers, even if it was 3-1 for Republicans, I think it would be 4-1. Nobody wants that extreme mindset. And Chuck Schumer has got a fight on his hand. They'll never win the general election. I think you're going to see former Governor Cuomo push, and he just might be somebody to come in and be the spoiler between the two of them.
Yeah, yet again, it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this plays out. Let's jump back to tariffs, if you will. In this case, Trump's tariffs were the focus of this morning's White House briefing. The administration attacking Amazon for reportedly moving to display the price of tariffs on items and saying the onus is on China to remove tariffs. Is this Amazon being, let's say, transparent, if you will?
Well, we saw this across the board years ago. When COVID first started, people would put this little charge on your receipt. You would see it and it would be a surcharge or an employee surcharge or a healthcare surcharge. I would see those on receipts for the last 5 years in many different restaurants, especially in larger cities. So it's nothing new to see that they are pushing back against a policy they don't like. That's one thing. But the other part of it, and this is very important for people to understand, Jeff Bezos is trying his best. He understands that he is the 900-pound gorilla in the room, and he's a choice. His choice is to be a friend or not. And if he's not a friend of this administration, then there's a problem coming down the road. Oppenheimer has already posted that they would expect Amazon to be down this year from a stock price. I don't know, except you'll see Amazon is now large enough to start antitrust lawsuits are going to begin in a lot of different industries. Amazon's going to be one of them.
Yeah, many are speculating that President Trump will, in essence, pick up the phone and give Mr. Bezos a call to say, hey, what's going on? Let's jump back to...
He probably doesn't even know this is happening. You know, this is not something on the top. He does now, but he probably didn't know it was taking place. It's such a large organization.
Yeah. All right. Back on the other side of the aisle, and what will be the first time in a long time, we will see former Vice President Kamala Harris, in essence, give a speech in San Francisco tomorrow, urging voters to push back on Trump's economic policies. This is something that perhaps we haven't seen in the past. What do you think is going to unfold here?
Well, the speech has an online price of anywhere from $25 to as much as $50,000. I have to double check my notes. I couldn't believe $50,000. That, of course, gives you extra goodies, if you will. Think about this for a second. She could not put together a legitimate, well-spoken speech. There are folks that know her. I happen to know people that know her privately, and they said she's a wonderfully well-spoken, confident person in private. They say when the camera comes on, when the words begin, something starts to happen, and it befuddles those around her. It's a serious issue, and for years, people couldn't understand it. She was kind of pushed through the system. Once President Biden kind of boxed himself into a corner and identified by race and gender who his vice president was going to be, there wasn't a lot of folks that he could select. And of course, somebody who polled right around 1% was who he chose. I don't think she has a political future in the state of California, and certainly not in the national Democratic scene.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what the Democrats do with regard to the next election, who they will put forth to the American people. Let's end with this, and that is our friends north of us. In this case, Canada's Mark Carney and his Liberal Party, well, they claimed a remarkable election victory following a campaign dominated by Trump's trade war. In his victory speech, Mr. Carney said, quote, "President Trump is trying to break us so America can own us. That will never never, ever happen. Your take on that?
Isn't this incredible? The chaos that he can create by a tweet or a word. It goes to show you that if he can keep you distracted on something that is irrelevant and almost impossible to occur, for example, our purchasing or acquiring Canada, that should have been done in the War of 1812. That ship has sailed, literally done. Maybe Nova Scotia or Greenland should have been taken back then, but that's 200 years ago. Realistically, you're going to see somebody like President Trump really push back against the tariffs. Our friends to the north, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Washington State, the dairy farmers of the United States, they are subject to as much as 298% tariffs. And this is before President Trump came into office. Do we understand this? 298% tariffs. That means it's impossible to buy American dairy goods, cheese and milk and other products north of the border. So what did Canada do? They focused on something very, very specific, and that is the erratic nature of President Trump. I will tell you, he is anything but. He's a calculated, intelligent person. Look, does he make a lot of mistakes? I've mentioned before, 33, 34 years of marriage, I can tell you my wife and I don't agree on everything. You think everybody's supposed to agree with President Trump, even his closest inner circle? Of course not. This war against other countries taking advantage of us. Think about this for a second. You own a grocery store. Your employees have been stealing out the back door. But listen, it's 1932. You're in the middle of the Depression. You understand, and you kind of let it happen. Then one day you go to the back of the grocery store and you take a look and your employees are stealing from you, but now they're driving away, not with the bread and the alcohol and meat, etc., but they're driving away in a Rolls Royce or a Bentley. Do you realize you're going, wait a second, China has been taking from us, Canada has been taking from us, and they live a much better life. They're driving better cars than we are. What the heck is happening? President Trump has finally put his foot down. I wish this happened years ago, but folks have been used to stealing. They've been used to getting things their way, and things are going to change. In fact, we see it happening now.
Well, as you stated, with that Rolls Royce, perhaps you give it to your wife, happy life, especially after 34
Coming up
years.
on 34 years in a couple of months. So
Congratulations, my friend. Always good to see you.
Thanks.
Folks that want to get a chance
Great
to
to see you,
listen to
buddy.
you, how would they go about to do so?
you can go to AM 870, The Answer, Salem Communications, every Sunday, or you can reach us at tfswealth.com.
Absolutely love it. We'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you, buddy. We'll see you next week.
You got it.